Then we're going to talk about major paper 2. So I'm going to be moving into this right here, which is the presentation I'm going to be giving on major paper 2. So major paper 2 is similar to major paper 1 in that it is a rhetorical analysis paper. It begins as a rhetorical analysis paper. It's not entirely rhetorical analysis, but it starts that way, and it's focused on the rhetoric of politics. So some details about it. First of all, unlike any other paper that you've written probably in your high school or educational career, this paper is going to be in APA format. I will walk you through that. APA is a type of research format like MLA, but it's a little bit different, and I'll talk to you about the differences between those. So this one is going to be an APA format. And we are going to be analyzing political commercials and the rhetoric used in political commercials. So we're going to be looking at the language used, we're going to be looking at the film styles, and we're going to be looking at some of the use used in those. Then you're going to take commercials that you're researching, and you're going to synthesize that into an argument. So one part of the paper is going to be rhetorical analysis. The other part of the paper is going to be an argument. Again, it's a major paper, which means it's 60% of your overall grade. And again, there are going to be 3 drafts, but each draft has a little bit different requirements. So let me talk to you about those first. So first of all, in review, this is rhetorical analysis. It starts out as rhetorical analysis. So you want to make sure that you understand the purpose, and it should be specific. Of course, all political commercials, their main purpose is they want you to get them to vote for the person that the commercial supports. But I need you to be more specific than that. Do they want to convince people who believe in a particular argument to support the person? Do they want to convince people who already are supporters to get out and vote? Do they want to convince people who may not be supporters of that politician that that if they vote for the other person, they're choosing the wrong way? So they want to turn people away? Do they want to reinvigorate their own supporters? What do they want to do? So you will be choosing 2 to 3 different commercials. I'm going to have you start off by looking at 3 commercials. And you can do this in 3 different ways. First, you can choose different types of commercials, and I'll explain what that means in a minute. Then you can choose commercials from different political parties. So you can choose 1 Republican commercial, 1 Democrat commercial, 1 independent commercial. Or you can choose different years, and that way you're kind of looking at how commercials and political rhetoric has changed through time. So you could choose something from the 1950s, and then something maybe from the 1980s, and then something today, and look at how changes have occurred in politics and political rhetoric. So the next thing you're going to do with that is determine, the techniques, both the film techniques of that commercial and the language that were used to achieve the purpose, and then explain why they're effective. So analysis of those commercials. So I want you to think before you even begin what you might argue about these commercials. So some of the things that you might want to look for is what sort of patterns do you see? So you can argue that there's a pattern over time or between political parties or things like that. You can argue about what changes have occurred over time. You can write about what kind of language choices are used that seemed interesting, well used, or something that people use over and over again, or images that you see over and over again and why they might appeal to Americans. And then you could look at like the type of campaign, different types of campaign, which one seems to be the most effective based on the quality of the commercial or the outcome of the election. All right. So the first part is going to be rhetorical analysis of this paper, and that's going to be draft 1. I'll go through that in a second. Draft 2, you're going to be adding an argument, and we'll go through this step by step. So you will decide where you kind of want to head on this one, what kind of way you want to explore, and then you are going to create claims from your rhetorical analysis. You're going to include a refutation and a rebuttal or a concession in this one, and you're going to conclude with the important pieces and what they reflect about society or human nature. We'll talk about that more in detail when we talk about draft 2. Right now, I want you to focus on the rhetorical analysis. So this is basically the organization for your paper. For draft 1 is going to include this part right up here. Begin with rhetorical analysis, like do that first, come up with 3 commercials, and you're going to be doing a rhetorical analysis section where you're going to look at 3 different commercials. I'll talk to you about APA headings later. Then you're also going to write an introduction and a background. So the historical information, for example, that we need to know about these commercials, political information or biographical information about the politicians that you're actually studying. That's the first draft of the paper. Second draft, you're going to be adding this synthesis question, and we'll talk about that more in detail later. All right, so the rubric for the major paper is attached to this PowerPoint, which is also attached to Schoology, and you can reference that when you need to. But basically, make sure you have a well-written introduction and a quality-specific thesis. Make sure you have support from multiple sources, living room candidate, and any sources that you use to write your narration or your background. You'll need to have an APA reference page, and you're going to be writing an abstract. That's going to be part of your third draft of the paper. So after you're done with draft 1 and draft 2, you're going to be adding the abstract. The rubric, like I said, for the paper is attached here. So here are the current due dates. Remember, the due dates depend on how quickly I get drafts back to you. So draft 1 is going to be due on October 29th for peer review, and on Halloween, spooky day, to turn into me. So that's going to be the background rhetorical analysis and your working reference page. Draft 2, you're going to be adding your introduction and your argumentative, and that's going to be another timed write. So you're going to be using the information from your rhetorical analysis to create an argumentative portion of your paper, but you're going to be doing it with limited amount of time in class, just like you did with draft 2 of major paper 1. So tentative date for that is November 13th, where in class is probably when we're going to be doing the timed write. And then the final draft, the third draft of the paper, will include draft 1 and draft 2 of those corrections, and then you're going to be adding the abstract. Tentatively, that's going to be December 7th. So those are the 3 days that we're looking at for this quarter. I've got some resources for you. The one that we're really going to pay attention to right now is this resource, the livingroomcandidate.org. So the livingroomcandidate.org is one of my favorite websites on the whole internet. I know I'm a nerd. But it covers political commercials from 1952 to the last presidential election. And they're organized in different ways. So I want to kind of walk you through this. Commercials can be organized by election year, so we can go back to 1952, and it'll show you down here at the bottom the Republican commercials that year, and it shows you the Democrat commercials that year. At the top, it also gives you background information about that time period and what was going on. You can use that to look up more information to write your background information. It also includes information about each of the people who were involved in the election, what their mottos were, it's time for a change, or you never had it so good, and who they were running with. And then it also has a little tab where you can see the election results. You can see this year in 1952, Dwight D. Eisenhower won substantially over the Democrat Adlai Stevenson. So you can kind of see where different things go. Republicans equal red, Democrats equal blue. So you can kind of see them on the map there. So you can go through different election years and see all those different things for the election years. Here's 2016, which you're probably still very familiar with. You can also organize them by type of commercial. So when I said major paper, for your major paper commercials, you could look at 3 different types. This is what I'm referring to. These are the 7 different types of political commercials that you can have. Backfire, and you can see there's a definition of backfire right there, and it gives you all the backfire commercials that they've collected and kind of shows those a little bit. Then there's biographical, definition of biographical over here, children, definition of children over there, commander-in-chief, and all of those. So you can go through and you can look at those different types. So let's say that I wanted to write my paper about backfire, children, and real people. I would choose my favorite commercial from each of those categories down here, and I would analyze that. You can also organize them by issue, and they've got change, civil rights, corruption, taxes, war, and welfare. Those are the major issues that a lot of elections kind of follow. So you can take a look at those and see what different people from different time periods said about, that same issue or idea. There's also this right here, which is Curator's Choice. These are the person who runs the website, the ads that they think were the most effective or the most like campaign changing commercials that exist. And we're going to look later on at this one, which is called Tank Ride. But this is your first website that I'm going to have everybody in the class go to and visit. We're also going to watch a couple different commercials in class on Friday if we have time and talk about them. So let's go back to the class plans. Then this weekend, what I'm having you do, if you look down here, you're going to view and analyze 2 to 3 ads from that website. So on Schoology, already posted is an assignment that says commercial content frames. So if you look at this, there are 12 different boxes that you have to fill in for each of your commercials. So here you would type in your commercial title or the year in the candidate if the commercial doesn't have a title, or both. Best if you can have all of those things up there, like George W. Bush, 1982, I forget if that's the year, Tank Ride would be what I would type in up there. And then the type of commercial, you would list what it is. That was a backfire commercial. Issues that are covered, you write down, basically bullet points, what were covered in that issue. What do you think the main message of it? What's the intended purpose, and who's the audience that's supposed to be for? Supporters or detractors? General, undecided? Where should it be? What are some of the important words and phrases used? So you don't have to write in full sentences here. I actually want you to use, for the most part, bullet points. What kind of appeals are present? What were the best parts of the piece? What were the worst parts? What could be open to attack? That means if you were someone running an opposing campaign, what could you backfire against this commercial about? And then this one, why was it your favorite? Then down here, I want you to answer for each commercial, which parts of the commercial would be good to use if you were going to create a campaign ad today. So if you were going to be creating a Sam Braithwaite or Mason Schroeder or Heidi Dunn for President campaign, what parts of this commercial would you want to put into that? Then you can see right here, there's the second commercial and the third commercial. That's your homework for the weekend. I want you to get these from livingroomcandidate.org. Again, right there, livingroomcandidate.org, and find those from there because it has so much information for you that you can use. There's a couple things that you need to know about this. If you don't have Flash Player allowed for the website, you have to make sure that you allow it, and you can do that by clicking up here where it says not secured. It might say block, or ask, you want allow right there. Otherwise, you won't be able to watch the commercials up there. I think that's everything with Living Room Candidate that covers your choosing ads to analyze. You want to have those all filled in. That's actually by Monday. And you want to kind of think about what direction you might want to go, like what patterns you see and things like that. And then on Monday in class, we're going to be talking about those. We're going to be looking at specifically Tank Ride, that commercial. So please don't choose that one because we're going to be talking a lot about that one in class on Monday. All right. I hope that gives you a good understanding of what we're going to do. All of these things are going to be posted on Schoology. In fact, I think a lot of them are already posted on Schoology. Let's look at it really quickly. So there's AP Lang and Comp, Living Room Candidate website, the link for Schoology. The website is right there, first thing on Schoology. This third thing, this one we already did this week. That was Thursday's homework assignment. This one right here, that's the link to that assignment that you can get to and fill in on Schoology right there for you, and that's due on Monday. Okay, thanks for listening, and hopefully this helps you get an idea of what you're going to miss in class on Friday.